You're listening to The Tuesday Club with Sean and Kyle.
I'm Shane.
Hello, Wales. This is Kyle Rees. You're listening to another wonderful episode of the Tuesday Club, and it's a very special episode today because it's episode 1 of series 2. Sean, are you there?
I am here after 25 episodes of season 1, where we set out in trepidation, not knowing what to expect, Kyle. A mixture of showbiz, entertainment, and our passion, other passion, rugby. And we've had some amazing guests on. Took a little week's break because we've been working hard on it through lockdown. But I'm delighted that we started season 2 with a bang. What a guest we've got today.
Yeah, today I feel like it's going to be the best opening show episode of a series of podcast. We have got a legend of TV, a legend of theatre, one of the funniest comedy actors to come out of Britain, I feel, anyway, and the velvet dulcet tones of Colin McFarlane. Hello, Colin.
Hello, Kyle.
How's it going, mate?
How are you?
I'm good, mate.
I'm so impressed that you're doing this, Carl. Can I just say, I'm so impressed. How many episodes have you done?
This will be episode 26.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't have the technological brain to even know how to do a podcast, so I'm happy to take part in one.
Colin, neither did we. I'll tell you, the first episode we did, Sean came to my house and he had this tiny little bit of equipment. He was like, right, okay, I've got these mics that I use when I do gigs, and this is tiny. And he was like, you chucked it at me. He was like, try and figure that out. And it took us a couple of episodes, but we got there in the end. But just a quick shout out. We got taken on by a media company, Buffoon Media. So Adam Amore, who is the director of Buffoon Media in Port Talbot, he very kindly gave us a bit of kit, which now we use to record. Well, I've got it, so I've got the whole setup here.
You've got the nice microphone, yeah, very good.
But yeah, it's just gone on from there. So it's been brilliant. But back to today's episode. Obviously, we've got you on. I haven't seen you, Colin, obviously, since we stopped shooting last year. How has the last 6 months been for you, mate?
I think surreal, like most people. You know, you have your ups and your downs in terms of. I'm mostly kind of quite comfortable in my own company, so I'm quite comfortable in lockdown. My wife is not quite so comfortable. She has moments where she's just like, I want to get in the car and I want to see an horizon somewhere, because we're in London and you're surrounded by buildings. But I think we are kept busy by, thank God, like you, I've got the microphone, so I have the home studio. So I've been doing some recordings, thank God, so I can learn something. And then, of course, thanks to you, Kyle, you got me into the Cameo thing. So I get to talk to the fans on that, which also takes you out of your head for a bit. And then I've been doing a bit of writing and stuff. And then around that, I should have been doing more writing, but I keep being seduced by Netflix. And Amazon Prime, actually. So I've been watching a lot of stuff as well. And then had a few kind of detours with political stuff, you know, with the whole, less so the Black Lives Matter in a different way, but more with the Windrush stuff, because my parents are both Jamaican, came here in the 50s. They're both still alive, thankfully, 85 and 91. Wow. So they found that whole thing very disturbing because it could have happened to them, and so that made me really, for them, do a lot of research into it. So I've been reading a book by Amelia Gentleman, who was that journalist in The Guardian who broke the story. So she's written a book called The Windrush Betrayal, and I've read that twice and taken notes. So because I want to try and do something to help the people that are not getting compensation. So yeah, that's taken a bit of time in a different way. So
that's great.
Long answer to your question.
Well, yeah, because you know we're also busy normally, aren't we, Carl? That lockdown has afforded, as bad as it's been, the opportunity to do things, you know, that you wouldn't normally have the time to do. It's great that you've been watching a bit of Netflix and Amazon Prime, because Kyle's going to ask you a lot, and you can give us some tips on what to watch there. But, you know, I want to talk to you a little bit about all the things that you've done, because, you know, you're such a distinctive face people like me, we would have seen you in a diverse range of things, TV, films, theatre, but your voice as well. You do so much with your voice. Kyle was telling me, for example, you seen the Red Bull advert? I said, of course I have. He said, well, Red Bull gives you wings. I said, yeah. He said, that's Col. I said, is it? Get off.
Well,
God
bless
like
him. He's my biggest agent. I haven't actually done Red Bull for a little while because I did it for 5 years. So before anybody had heard of Red Bull, yeah, I was the voice on pretty much all the adverts for about 5 years. Yeah.
Can you do it for me? Every time I see you, Col, you always do it for me. Can you do it for me now on the podcast, please?
Well, they were different every time, but the line at the end was often, Red Bull gives you wings. So that was often the often the one at the end.
The
but
other one I
various characters.
One I was telling Sean about, which you told me about. I think we were on the car, in the car on the way to the hotel from a day's filming, and we were chatting about this, that, and the other. And like whenever I'm in the car, Sean, with Colin, I'm just like this. Like you know me, I don't stop talking. I'm always full of life. Whenever I'm around Colin, I'm just like this because I just cannot help but listen to him and his voice, and it's just oh my god. But he told me that he was also the voice in The Cube, and that blew my mind because I used to love watching that show. And then it was just, you get, for me, before I met Colin, it was just, all right, here comes the guy now, his voiceover with, this one, you have to do this before the time. And then I've got Colin in the car on the way back to the hotel, like 4 a.m. after night shoot, doing all these little scenarios for me. Brilliant.
And the crazy thing about that show is I never met Philip Schofield because we always did the voice afterwards. So I was at a national TV awards one year. I used to do the voice of God that introduces the people at the beginning. So there's the usual after show party. And bizarrely, it was Philip Schofield, not name dropping here. This is just what happened. It was Philip Schofield and Simon Cowell, who was with his then partner, which is not the same one he's with now. Anyway, I think Philip Schofield was kind of walking my direction, and I just went, Mr. Schofield. And he went, hi. And I went, voice of the Cube. And he went, oh my God! It's the first time he'd ever actually met me. So we then started this conversation, and I just remember Simon Cowell just completely interrupting and coming right across me. And just completely, and Philip Schofield being very sweet and looking back and going, sorry, But yeah, we'd never met. So
while we're on the things you do with your voice, Col, I know you do a lot of children's TV shows as well, and I know you've done a lot of computer games in the past. But what are some of the biggest voiceover work that you've done that we all know, but obviously us now knowing you don't know that was you?
Oh God, I guess there's so much. Well, I was the voice of ITV for about 5 years, so it would have just been that voice that you hear that will be saying to you, next tonight on ITV1, bloody 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 blah, whatever that is.
I love his voice.
And then I did most of the channels. I think I've been the voice of most stations for a period. There was Turner Network when that first started. I think it was Turner Classic Movies. I was the voice of that for quite a few years. But in terms of commercials, I was the voice of Nissan for about 2 or 3 years, did all their cars. What happens is they put you as the voice of these campaigns, and then of course, because we're actors, Kyle, we get snapped up to go and do a TV show. And then suddenly, like for example, Nissan, I was on an exclusive contract for I think it was 2 years in the end. And then one day, literally, I was not available because I was doing something and they couldn't get hold of me. And then they decided to move the contract on to someone else. And you're like, whoa, that was a bit harsh. So they just want you available all the time. And as obviously there are a lot of voiceovers who are just voiceovers, and they can be more available. But when we're acting and doing other stuff, we're not always there. And so that sometimes can get in the way of a contract. So I think I did a lot of cinema trailers, a lot of TV campaigns over the years. I'm trying to think of specifically which ones. It's always hard because I've kind of done everything. But more recently...
Wait. I'm going to go back a minute. Sean, listen to this, right? He told me this on set as well, the cinema trailers. He didn't just do Colin McFarlane on the cinema trailers. You've viewed him on many, many movies. Can you do a little feature for Sean just to jog his memory in that American voice that you did? Do it.
Oh, which film?
I don't know. You pick a film. Pick one you've just recently watched on Prime or something.
It's always hard to kind of come up with. It would be what's the last one I did? Oh God, it's so hard. Well, if I was doing a movie trailer, it would be something like, God, it's so hard off the top of your head. Sean. I'm trying to think of Sean's name. So if I could think of Sean was in the movie. So what movie would it be? Bad Boys. Bad Boys, starring Kyle Rees, Sean Holley, in a movie you've never seen before, where they'll get up to things you've never imagined. But I mean, depends sometimes you'll do a kind of, if it's high comedy, you'll do something up there. It's Jim Carrey in The Truman Show. You might go up here somewhere. And then sometimes if it's Batman and Robin, you're down here. So it just depends on the thing. But they changed all of that a few years ago, where the American actors then started doing them in the States. So I do less of the film trailers now. I've just done actually it's like, Carl, you can never say what the hell you've done, but I've just done a narration, but I can't tell you the company. So I'll tell you when this comes out so you can put it with it. But I've just done a bedtime story for a company that I'm not allowed to name yet. And I think they're editing at the moment, but that's one of those things that, you can then sign on and listen to it at night time, and they'll put my voice with lovely music, and it'll make you relax and go to sleep.
I kind of feel like, Colin, obviously with the rugby link here, I kind of feel like Bill McFarlane was the voice of rugby. I kind of feel like you are the voice of TV. That's you. Bill McFarlane, the voice of rugby. Colin McFarlane, the voice of TV.
I'll take that.
Yeah, listen, you should take that there.
I want to go back. You mentioned Batman. Obviously, we'll have a little chat now about some of your work. Most recently, Outlander. You joined in season 4, the same as I joined season 4.
Yep.
What has Outlander been like for you over the last couple of years, my friend?
Well, of course, you know the answer to that question. It's been, as we all know, as not the major characters, we never quite know what they're going to do with us. So season 4 was me constantly saying to the producers, are we going to get into the stuff that's in the book? His relationship with Jocasta, is that going to happen? Oh, we don't know yet, Colin. We'll see how things go. And so I get that a lot. And I think it was the end of season 4, beginning of season 5, then the producers finally said, we're going to give you a little bit more to do in season 5. And that's when they kind of gave me a heads up that I would get to kill somebody, and I was like, great, love a bit of that. I mean, Carl, you had some lovely action in this season, so I was kind of like going, yes, they've given us some stuff to do. So it's been, I think, as you probably discovered too, Carl, the surreal thing about Outlander is I'd never heard of the show before. And then you enter this world of this massive Outlander fandom, which is just quite surreal. And that's probably been, you talk about what you do in lockdown, as you will see, I'm on Twitter a lot, and you can just go down rabbit holes with Outlander fans having all these random conversations, because there's so many of them, and you don't realize that they're literally around the world. So I think that has just been a great adventure, which we are still continuing on, really, even though we're not filming at the moment. You still get the fans coming to you and asking questions and asking for shout outs and stuff. So, but so it's been I've enjoyed doing it. I don't know if I'll be back. I mean, a lot of fans have been asking. I'm allowed to say, because the producers did tell me they're keeping the door ajar. So all they said is that we might get you back for 1 or 2 episodes if you're free, if it works with the storyline, that kind of thing. So who knows?
I think it's silly not to have you back, Colin. I'll be honest with you.
I felt the same, Cole. I felt the same. I hadn't heard of the show apart from when Kyle told me he was going in it. So, we had Katrina on, then we had Sam on, we've had Tim Downey,
Brilliant.
Now we've had yourself. And the kickback we've had in terms of listeners, and then the reaction to having people like yourself on, this will be massive now with the Outlander fans. It's going to be amazing. Good. And it's really opened my eyes, really, as to how big the show is. And I got to be honest, I got to say, mate, when you, because I've been watching it now with
brilliant,
as a Kyle, when you came into it, I'm not just saying this, I said to myself, there's more to come from this character, because when you first are on, you think, okay, I get it, but he's too big a presence, and there's too much in there. There's more to come. So if the producers get any sense, mate, then you can do a lot more killing and stuff like that.
Bless you. You never know with these things, but There is another, just for the Outlander fans, they do a DVD, as Kai will know, after the end of each season. So there is an extra scene that I shot. Of course, we're not allowed to say what it is, but I did do a bonus scene that will be on the DVD, which comes out, I think, sometime in September, to get the fans through Droughtlander.
Droughtlander.
They love the Droughtlander. Droughtlander. I don't really think. Obviously, when we both started in season 4, and obviously I was only in a few episodes then, and even then it was just, you know, the fandom just sort of went, huh, "Who are you? Yeah. You're new. You're in the show. I don't care if you've got one line. You're in the show, and I love you." And it's very overwhelming. It's lovely and it's flattering. But then obviously going on then into from season 4 into season 5, and then it just becomes, like you said, you know, we went from being the most expensive extras to actually being, you know, some decent actors in the show in season 5. Yeah. And it sort of blows up. But one of the things I want to ask you as well is about when we're actually on set. Like Sean just mentioned there, we've had Sam and Kat and Tim on, and we all get to work with Sam and Kat. And Sam and Kat steer the ship. They are the captains of the Outlander ship, and they're brilliant to work with. But obviously, we all had a lot to do, especially in season 5. A lot of the characters that were introduced in season 4 that necessarily didn't work together, we all sort of became a lot closer and worked together. So how was that for you in last season when we all sort of had those big grand scenes where we were all there? And just describe what a day on the set would be like.
Well, I guess you guys, as the kind of Fraser's Ridge family, got more time together, because obviously Ulysses was always locked in with Jocasta, but the wedding scene, probably the beginning of season 5, was probably the nicest time in terms of just literally, as you say, all the characters from all the different storylines being on set on the same day, was kind of fun. Although I was sat behind Caitlin with the baby from hell, sadly. So just to share with the fans, we have 2 babies. And one is quite well behaved and one is not quite so well behaved. And bless her, Caitlin was doing everything she could do, but this baby would not stop crying. And I was sat right behind with, of course, Maria, who plays Jocasta, and also with Alistair, who came in as Duncan Innes. So yeah, we were sat there. But it was, it's always been, it's a weird thing because all my scenes are with Maria normally. So you do feel like you're in this little bubble. Yeah. That you're kind of in Jocasta's world. So it is nice when you get other people from other storylines to coming in, but you know, it's a weird one because Ulysses is very much that silent. As someone said to me in Scotland, I was in a restaurant one day and one of the waiters, we've been talking for like 2 hours, and he knew me from Batman, but he hadn't clicked I was an Outlander, even though he'd watched it. It was really weird. And then he just literally went, "Oh, you're the brooding manservant." And that was the description. I went, "The brooding manservant." I like that. So that was very much, I think, how Ulysses came across in most of season 4, because he didn't say very much, and then a little bit more in season 5. So yeah, it's been fun to meet more of the actors, but I it's a weird one. Ulysses is around a lot, but he doesn't say a lot, so you don't always have a load to do. And ironically, one of my most fun days was doing the bonus scene, and I can't say who it was with yet, but we spent 6 to 7 hours shooting the scene, and I hadn't actually had that, other than I'm normally standing around. So it's bizarre how it works.
The nights after shooting were always fun in the hotels, though.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but also, Kyle, remember some of the most fun I had with Kyle was actually the bonus, the spin-off from the Outlander was the convention. And going to Kansas City. I mean, when have you done a job that you get flown to another country to go and meet the fans? That's when you realize the scale of it. And I had great fun in Kansas City. So, and you know, those are the things that I think most shows don't. That's when you realize how big the show is.
I was going to ask you that when flipping back to Batman, Colin, because you know, all of the superheroes like Batman, Superman, the following, the comic cons and things like that. Yeah. Do you see a similarity with Outlander fans, or is it totally different kettle of fish in terms of the whole Batman thing?
I mean, I haven't really done. I've just been approached by a few agencies to do some comic cons for Batman. I haven't ever done any yet. So I guess it's something down the line, but you don't get the same, even though there's a big fandom with those movies, they don't seem to connect in the same way that an Outlander fandom does. I just, it's a different vibe. I'm sure if I went to the conventions, you'd get all that love. But there's something about Outlander fans. They're not only are they really supportive of all of us, it's the way they actually support each other. And, you know, if somebody attacks you on social media, the Outlander fans get on there and defend you. I mean, you know, they are amazing. So no, that's a completely different, I can't compare Batman fans to that. Even though I know that there's a huge amount of Batman fans, they just don't seem to, I haven't yet been, what's the word? I've not been entered into their Batman fan world in the same way or embraced in the same way as the Outlander ones.
Still though,
I'm sure that will come.
Being in, like obviously we all grew up with these comic characters, didn't we? Like they've been going since the early 50s or whatever it was. But yeah. I just want to clear something up. Like I've seen all of Nolan's Batman movies and they're all brilliant. Yeah. And to this day, like, how do you pronounce your character's name?
Oh, just think of earlobe.
So Loeb. That's it.
Commissioner Loeb.
Commissioner Loeb.
Yeah. Just think of earlobe.
Have you seen the Batman films?
Yeah.
Sean? Oh,
Batman's my favorite.
The first one was my favorite to do because I had more screen time, but also just the scale of it. It was just a quick. I've told Carl so many stories. I don't know if I told you this one, but I was originally cast in my first Hollywood film would have been The Spy Game with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt, and I was so excited. I'd learnt the lines. I was ready to go. And that was going to be my first movie. And then at the last minute, I was directing and in a stage show at the same time that I produced. And it was all set up, all looking great. And then at the last minute, Tony Scott, who's now passed away, his mother or father, can't remember which, passed away. They had to change the dates and they wanted me to film as our play was opening. And cut a long story short, I couldn't do the two. And it's probably the only time in my career I've cried because I had scenes with Robert Redford, one of my heroes, and Brad Pitt, and I couldn't do it. And I remember people saying, "But you can. You just leave the show." And I went, "I've just raised £90,000 to put this show on, and I've spent most of it on rehearsals and marketing, and I can't just leave." So I couldn't, sadly. But the good news is, 2.5 years later, same casting director cast me in Batman Begins, and so I kind of felt like I had to wait 2.5 years to finally get my first Hollywood film, but it didn't feel like a Hollywood film because we shot the first scene in London 10 minutes from my house. And I thought, this is really weird. And then the following week they said, we're now going to Chicago. And I went, okay, this is more like it. And we filmed in Chicago, and it was the last, if you watch Batman Begins, the sequence at the end when Scarecrow, Cillian Murphy, the wonderful Cillian Murphy, he's doing his Scarecrow thing with some weird gas thing, and Gary Oldman, who was beautiful to me on that job, he is trying to do something in this weird area that the Scarecrow's got him in, and I arrive in a car. And basically we shot that at 10 at night through till 4 in the morning, and this is the first time I remember saying to myself, oh my God, this is what a Hollywood movie is, because I was the only person with dialogue, and there were something like, I don't know, 10 helicopters going over the top. They had to coordinate something like 5 different bridges going up over the Chicago River. They had water hydrants going off. They had police on horseback. They had people in SWAT vans. You're going, oh my God, the scale of it. And you're thinking, if I go wrong with my lines, they got to reset.
Do it
bridges,
all again.
Helicopters, right? And that's all you're thinking about, going, oh shit. And then my lines were to Gary Oldman, and he had gone the day before. He'd shot his stuff the day before. So I had to play this high stakes, really intense, high pressured scene with a continuity announcer, continuity person, who was very lovely, but is not an actor. So there's me getting out of the car going, Gordon, where are you, Gordon? And I'm getting this, hello, Loeb. I've got this non-performance coming back at me, and I'm having to kind of, it was surreal. And you're then being told, to your left, the Batmobile will come past you, the real Batmobile. So please react and look at that. But then to your right, there'll be a CGI Batmobile. So look and imagine, because that's going to be done later. Then we have a water hydrant going off. So you had all these things in a very short sequence, and with all these bridges and helicopters and stuff being queued. And I just remember standing there and going, wow, this is a Hollywood movie.
That's brilliant,
Yeah.
Tony.
Amazing experience.
Just to let everyone know, we're all still in our houses doing stuff, and I've just got to go and grab an Asda delivery. So, Sean, you got the next question.
Wow, I love that.
Keep going, and I'll be straight back.
That's life for you. That's life for you, Carl.
That's life.
Listen.
I'm sorry, by the way, Sean. I realised that you guys are both in landscape and I'm in portrait.
It doesn't matter.
Sorry about that.
We've got your voice. We will be putting this out on YouTube because the Outlander fandom will demand it. That's the reason we do that. I want to take it back, mate, to a hugely successful show that I was really, really fond of, and that's the Fast Show.
Oh wow!
You know, when you think about the Fast Show, you've all become pretty iconic, and it was a little bit out there at the time, wasn't it? It was definitely a little bit different. You know, what was it like in preparation for those shows? You know, this all the sort of scripting and you know, working together on different scripts
it was
like that.
That came out of I was doing a show called Tales from the Poop Deck at Pinewood Studios. It was a kind of kids series, and there were a guy called Chris Langham who sadly got into a bit of trouble with the authorities years later. So he's not in the business anymore. It was a lovely guy, but Chris and Griff Rees Jones and Mel Smith had produced it, and they kind of knew a lot of the comedy world. And so as a result of doing that show, Paul Whitehouse got in touch and said, could you come and do a general audition? And I met them, and then they said, do you write? And I said, no, not really. And they were like, but you look like the kind of guy that would write. I said, well, I can write, but I haven't written for TV. And he said, okay, well, if you have any ideas, we'd love to look at them. I didn't ever write anything for them. And we just went through various different sketches, just coldly, just read them with him and Charlie Higson. And then it sort of developed, I think, with each series, they kind of just gave me a little bit more to do. And one of the sketches, I mean, I get stock for those sketches still today, which is crazy. I mean, but one that was, I can hear the rain outside. There was one, I did one with Steve Davis, the snooker player, which we had to go to Steve Davis's house, which was great. So we went to his house in Romford in Essex, and we had to plan the sketch. So the sketch was basically going to be me dressed as Shaft. I don't know if you've seen this one, but I have a wig on as Shaft. I've got the shades on. I've got the leather coat, a couple of babes on my arm, and it's set to music. And the idea is that I come in. I think you get Steve Davis going wrong with a shot, and you get a voiceover saying, "Oh dear, he's not going to like that," something like that, you know. And then suddenly the music kicks in. Up I step, and then I clear the table. We worked all of that out at Steve Davis's house, and then of course he puts my black gloves on and does all the trick shots, but I had to do a couple of them that he had to teach me. That was great fun. And the interesting thing about that sketch is that it was directed by a guy called Mark Mylod, who went on to direct Game of Thrones, and that was the first thing he'd ever directed. Went on to direct Game of Thrones, and he's now producer and director on Succession, which is that amazing show that HBO made. So from the humble beginnings of the Fast Show, he's now one of the top directors in Hollywood. So it just shows, you know, you always be nice to those people on your way up, because you never know where they're going to get to.
Two of the scenes that I love, the ones that I think you may have retweeted maybe a few months ago, but I always watch like UK Living and UK Gold and the Fast Show, Harry Enfield, Only Fools, all these British classics. They're always, and I get that from my dad. That's all we ever used to watch when I was growing up, with all these programs. So I know, what was the other one? Hale and Pace. I used to love Hale and Pace as well.
Hale and Pace.
But I love watching all these. And two of the scenes one that I only seen when it was recycled on social media in the last couple of months. And the other one, which is you.
Now, which one is it?
Right. So
is it me and Felix Dexter?
In the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them, and the other one is with you. I can't remember his name. I worked with him as well in The Indian Doctor. Suits you, sir, not Paul Whitehouse, the other fella.
Oh, Mark Williams.
Mark Williams. And you're all sat around the table, and you're all like these, you know, gentrified. I've got this.
I'm more middle class. Was it the middle class?
I'm more middle class. Oh, brilliant! I love that one.
Yes, we used to watch BBC. We never watched ITV. Yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah, that was Mark's brilliant. We actually ended up. I was on a train, I think to Cardiff, strangely, and Mark was on the train with me, and he came through with his daughter, I think, and said, "Oh, I'm doing a show. you'll have to come on it one day. And I thought, what's he talking about? And it was Father Brown, which has been running ever since. So I did actually end up doing an episode, and that was fun just to kind of reunite with him. But yeah, the Fast Show is a show that we just did about 3 or 4 months ago. I don't know when it's coming out. It was for Channel 5, but it's a kind of look back at the Fast Show. And so they've got interviews with me and various other people from it. So I'm not sure when that's on, but we have done a kind of retrospective on that. But yeah, there's a Fast Show. He's got a Twitter site. He contacts me all the time, but he's great. He's constantly putting out clips and putting them on again for a new audience, really, because people keep going, this is so funny, it's never dated. It's like you say, Fools and Horses, which is one of my favorite shows, which I was meant to be in. Another one of those things that you couldn't do. I was cast in a Christmas special and then couldn't do it. But then when you nipped out to get your delivery, Kyle, a show called Tales from the Poop Deck is what I did instead of only Fools and Horses. I had two, that when you get those two jobs at the same time. Told all my friends I was doing the Fools and Horses Christmas special, the biggest show in those days. It was the biggest show, and I was meant to be in the one where Damien was born. So I was meant to be the priest, and I told all my mates.
Remember that?
Yeah, and I loved I loved that show, and so I literally told all my friends. And then this Tales from the Poop Deck thing came in that no one had heard of, brand new show, and it clashed. And my agent said, yes, but Poop Deck might go on to more series. You're only doing one episode of Fools and Horses. I am, but it's Fools and Horses. It's the biggest Christmas show. Yeah. So I had to turn it down. And the good news is it was Poop Deck that led to the Fast Show interview, which is what I was saying to Sean. So you just never know, sliding doors. You never know which route's going to get you. Doors,
yeah.
The only connection I've got to Only Fools and Horses is when I moved to London twice. Once as soon as I finished drama school in 2010, hated it. Lived in a tiny, tiny box room, so small that I couldn't open the door fully ajar because it would hit the bed, so I'd have to slide in.
My daughter's in a room like that right now. That's crazy.
I was in Wood Green. I moved to a house of people I didn't know, weren't anything to do with the industry anyway. Moved back. The second time I moved back, I moved to Fulham and Chelsea. I lived in Chelsea for a bit, then moved to Fulham. And when I moved to Fulham, I lived opposite Nicholas Lyndhurst, literally right opposite.
Oh, wow.
And we used to chat, and obviously when you're an actor and you see famous actors, you just assume that they know that you're an actor somehow. And I'm like, hi, Nick, how's it going? Blah, blah. And he's just like, yeah, right. And he used to wear his caps really low down when he's walking.
Yeah, he's very shy.
Yeah. And, but yeah, one day something happened outside the house and there was a bit of trouble. And I went outside and tried to intervene and stop the goings on, and the police were there. And they'd seen me helping this woman and young lady who were having a bit of distress off this other fella. And him and his wife came over then, and he actually took his cap up a bit. I kind of felt like he let me in then. But he was like, oh, are you okay? Oh, yeah, we saw what you did. Well done. So, yeah, after that, we always used to chat, and that was it. So that's my connection. Is I know Dave from Only Fools and Horses.
You plonk.
Well, I met him. Here's the one to go with that. Me with all these stories. I was at school in Cambridge. He went out with one of my mates' sisters. So randomly, I was at boarding school in Cambridge. He came to the school one day, and we're like, that's Nicholas Lyndhurst. Didn't speak to him. And then years later, when I started acting, I did extra work before I ever got roles. You're not meant to do extra work. But I thought it was better than working in an office. And I was on Fools and Horses and got chatting to both David Jason and Nicholas Lyndhurst. And as Kyle will tell you, extras aren't meant to talk to the actors. And I thought, fuck that, excuse my language. And so I just went up to him and said, Nick, we have actually met before. You went out with a friend of mine's sister called Gail Parr, and had the name, of course, and he went, oh my God, oh what? That's weird. I said, yeah. And then, of course, because of that, we got chatting, and they kind of couldn't stop us, because often you'll get them hovering, thinking, what are those extras doing talking to the actors?
Yeah.
Which is why now, whenever I act in anything, the first thing I do is talk to the extras, because I did that job myself. And I know how it feels to be treated like, a second-class citizen. So, you're another human being. I mean, some extras, as Kyle will tell you, can be a little bit too much, which is why sometimes people are kind of hovering. But on the whole, if you're nice to them, they're nice to you, and I just think it's a good thing to do. So
good for you. Remember, you got to remember where you came from. And
on
that note, mate, I knew you and I'd hit it off because we both studied at Loughborough.
Oh my God, brilliant!
I'm Loughborough.
Good man.
Too.
Well, that's because that's Did you do rugby?
I did, yeah. Sports science. I was one of those.
You in the job? You were the purple strap.
I was in the African Violet.
Wow.
Yes, that was one of them.
What year were you there?
I was 91 to 94, so I was a bit
You're a
after
youngster.
you. Yeah.
You're a
Well,
youngster.
I'm
Yeah.
50 this year, Colin. You know, that's not.
Well, you're
As the
looking good,
youngster.
man.
Thanks,
Well,
mate.
80 to 83, I was there, yes, and the Purple Tracksuit Brigade were the kings of Loughborough University.
I wouldn't say I was the Kings, but I had a great
Well,
time. And actually, my eldest son is there now, so
oh wow,
he's
I loved
studying.
Loughborough. I loved that uni. I had a fantastic time.
Yeah, me
I was
too.
there when Sebastian Coe he was doing a postgrad, so he just finished his undergrad, and he was still breaking world records. So he'd come into our dining hall because he was going out with someone in our hall, and we just all literally, it was stupid, but we'd all look at what's he eating. What is making this guy superhuman? But that was a very special time.
So we're talking about Loughborough University there, Colin.
Yes.
I was there playing rugby, obviously. And, Kyle's a massive rugby fan. My career has been revolved around rugby and now working on the TV commentating. Do you have any interest in it at all? Do you cast an eye over the Six Nations? Or?
Yes, I do. And I said to Carl, I used to play. So I went to a school in Cambridge called the Perth School, which has a big tradition of sport. So I was in the first 15 for 2 years.
What position?
Yeah. You see, I'm old school, so I call it wing 3/4. So I was out on the wing, and in fact, I used to play in what we called the dropouts. For those of us I wasn't initially into rugby, and so there was a dropouts team, and literally we would stand at the back of the pitch and eat sweets. I mean, we literally didn't do anything. And one day, somebody pissed me off, and I ran the length of the pitch with the ball, and one of the teachers just went, "McFarlane, you're really fast. You're in the wrong. You're in the wrong team. You should be up with the firsts." And I went, "What?" And I literally got put up to go and play with the first as this kind of rookie, and I ended up getting to the first 15, which my dad was hugely proud about because he couldn't believe it. So I ended up playing from sort of 17. That's partly why I went to Loughborough, but then I never actually played rugby at Loughborough in the end because there were people like you, Sean, who were too good.
I don't know about that.
I wasn't county standard or anything. I was just good. I was very fast, basically. So it was like get the ball to Colin, and it's going to be hard to stop it. And that was why I played wing 3/4. And then I remember I have a slight bump in my nose, which came from rugby at 18 when I ended up getting in a clash with actually one of my own players. I played for. I didn't play at uni, but we used to go to all the varsity matches between Cambridge and Oxford, and we used to get taken to, if you're in the first 15, your treat was to be taken to Twickenham every year. So I did that kind of 2 years in a row. And I now, as Kyle knows, I now have two, I don't like the word, so I won't use it, the word that begins with A. I have taken 2 children in. Let's put it that way. I won't use the A word, because they're now I now have 2 extra children, and they're Scottish, which is crazy. They're Scottish and they're white. And Johnny is 26, and he is a massive rugby fan.
Brilliant.
And he's such a big fan that he can't actually watch Scotland games live, because if they lose, he literally cannot take it. So seriously, I mean, I will be watching it live and going, "But you're doing really well. Come on, Johnny." He went, "No." He will record it, and he'll watch it afterwards if he can cope. If they win, if they don't, he can't do it. So my dream is to take him to Murrayfield. I haven't done it yet, but I've got a mate up in Scotland who says he can arrange it. So I've got to do that. He's a massive fan, massive.
Brilliant. Wing 3/4. I'd love to see old footage of McFarlane running down the wing there.
Yeah,
grabbing tries. That'd be awesome.
I mean, football was always my first love, but we didn't play football. I went to private school, so they did rugby, hockey. What did you do in the third, and then athletics in the third term. So we played football at the boarding house, and rugby was the school the sport you played at school. So I did that for 2 years. I do have an old photograph. I have to dig it out for you. There was an old photograph of me in the first 15.
Oh mate, let's get that out. Let's get on social media. That'd be
fantastic.
Tweet it for Kyle.
Yeah.
If you could send that to us so we could post it on the socials, that'd be brilliant.
I will dig it out for you.
So what's next, mate? Lockdown has put everything a little bit on halt, so you can do some writing and that. You got anything in the pipeline?
The last thing I did actually was when I was in Cardiff, because I tried to get hold of Kyle. And Kyle, I think you just gone to Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was doing something called, I think I'm allowed to. We never know in this business, but I think I'm allowed to tell you what it's called. It was an HBO. It's a new HBO show called Industry, and they were shooting it in Cardiff. I think they're in pre-production. at the moment, so I'm not sure when it's out, but it's meant to be on BBC Two as well as going out on HBO in the States. I'm just doing one episode as a sort of a Labour peer, without giving anything more away than that. But I mean, one episode of that. And then I'm doing my usual, at the moment, yes, you can't do much. So I'm recording a new cartoon series. I hate the fact you can never say what you're doing. But basically, I will do this when I'm allowed to tell you. But basically, I did a cartoon series last year, obviously for under fives. I can say it's iconic, and you'd know the name if I told you, but they'll kill me if I say anything because I'm a new character. So
am I allowed to whistle the theme tune? Am I allowed to? Because it's just a guess, and I could be totally wrong.
You could be totally wrong.
Dun, 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 dun,
I like that. It's not that one, fortunately. But you're on the right. But you're on the right path, and I won't say anything else because you'll get it on the next one. But that's a new character that I come in as a policeman in that, and then we just finished Little Princess, which is a series I did with Jane Horrocks, where I pretty much do all the voices. So I do the West Indian gardener, who talks a bit like that. Hello, little princess. How are you today? Would you like to come and smell my roses? And
smell my roses.
The French chef, who talks a bit like this, huh? Hello, little princess. Get out of my kitchen, huh? So I do about 5 or 6 voices in that. So yeah, I'm doing a range of cartoons and various readings, and trying to get the writing. I told Carl about this. I did as a show, a true story about a guy called Hutch, that my agents now sent out to. I think we had 9 responses out of 19. 2 or 3 have said we like it, but we think it's better for America. And I basically sent 1 episode, and we've written another episode. So it's a question of what you do next. Do you try and talk to the Americans, or is it too early for that? So with what's going on with the pandemic, you kind of go, are people really, how much are people really going to do? I know soaps are being shot. I've got a friend in EastEnders, they're filming. I don't know about you, Kyle. I've been up for, I've done 3 self-tapes. God knows when they think they're going to make these things. I don't know what's happening with you, Kyle. Are you doing self-tapes? Is that now?
I've had 1 self-tape in the last 6 months. So, and that was for something that is, it's actually now it started shooting on the 6th of July in Bulgaria. So I was hoping for a nice little trip over there, but yeah, I don't think saying that, man, it's a long shoot, so I still could be in the mix.
But also, I'm not sure. Is it a nice trip? I don't know if it's safe, really.
Yeah,
that's the other thing,
because there's spiking in Spain, Germany, infections have gone up again, and so I know we all desperately want to get back to normal, but I'm a little bit hesitant myself. I mean, I had a mate on EastEnders saying to me how they've got screens between the actors, and they're 2 meters apart. But she's going to me, but Colin, with the best will in the world, even though you're being as vigilant as you can, you're sanitizing and all the rest of it, there are situations when you're just too close. It's just really difficult to maintain it all the time, and that you're really taking a risk. So yeah, until there's a vaccine, I think. A mate of mine, Rupert Graves, was telling me that he knew about a show in Canada where they put the whole cast and crew into a 2-week quarantine.
Yes.
Before they started work on it. Now that I can see that makes sense.
It's what they did with the Premier League, no? They all did that, all the teams.
Yeah. But that's if it's a big studio production and they can afford to do that. And sometimes you're only in something for a day. You're not going to necessarily want to be cocooned for 2 weeks when you're not really around for long. So I think we're going to see how it plays out. But
I got it's been no rugby, no TV, but we've just announced the Guinness Pro 14 back August the 22nd. So I'm going to be like pitch side and then commentary. Nobody in the stands, no crowd, limited crew. So I'll have the presenter 2 meters away, and then me, and then my co-commentator is going to be. It's going to be strange because even when you do things like commentary for sport, you want to be close, you're interacting, you're interviewing players or whatever, and it's going to be really weird. But I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it because it's been a long time without any work. He's just losing my sanity more than anything,
Well, that's that I've been getting. In fact, later today I've got to do one of those lovely cameos that Kyle introduced me to. And I got normally you get requests from Outlander fans, obviously, and the old Fast Show, funny enough, the old Batman. But I had one yesterday from an opera singer who's requested the message for herself. But it's quite sweet and quite touching, and that she was just sort of wrote a note saying a bit, I'm a performer and I can't get on stage. All my bookings have been cancelled or suspended. And I'm just feeling a bit lost. And I just wanted to talk to a fellow performer, if you could just share with me how you've been getting through it. And you go, fine, okay, if that's what you'd like me to talk to you about. But of course, it's a one-way conversation with Cameo, so you can't have a chat. But that's indicative, I think, of, I know so many people in the creative industries, as you say, sports, same thing. I had a mate the other day who's a musician, and he said, he relies on live gigs. Unless you're a massive recording artist and you can still make your money on Spotify, you need to do live gigs. I've got a mate who's a concert promoter, same thing. He's just got all these people that work for him. He's very successful, but he's going, I can't do any of my concerts. Yeah. So I don't know when that's going to come back. And summer obviously is the best time for some outdoor stuff. But then come the winter, when we all know it's a risk to be indoors, that's when the problem then moves into another gear, really, because you can't, at least now we can sit outside the pubs and, so yeah, it's tricky until they get a vaccine. I think we have to just recognize that life is not going to be as we'd like it to be.
Yeah, spot on. Well, we're absolutely delighted you took time to come on Tuesday Club today.
My pleasure.
We're really proud to have you on. I know all the Outlander fans are going to be listening to this and wishing you all the very best, and probably asking you, tweeting you questions as to, how long, when we're going to see you and when you're coming over and all of that. But good luck with all your ventures.
Well, thank you.
Whatever you're writing, all the things that we can't wait to come out now that we don't know what they're called or what they're going to be, but then you can come back on and tell us. You can come back. Now, we can't...
I'll just tell you, because Kyle asked about it, and again, I can't, tell you it. But all I will say is, there may be news, Kyle, and I have to be cryptic. There may be news about a game show.
Oh,
I'm just putting that out there for you, Kyle, so that when I'm allowed to tell you, you'll go, oh, that's what you meant.
Brilliant.
So yeah, my voice may be in a game show.
We look forward to that. We look forward to that. Colin McFarlane, we can't let you go from Tuesday Club without taking you up and under. Are you up for that?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, some quick fire questions. You're on the Tuesday Club. We're going with Hollywood actor, Outlander star, voice man extraordinaire. Colin McFarlane, you're coming up and under. Coffee or tea?
Green tea.
Big stage or big screen?
Big screen.
Corrie or EastEnders? You've been in both.
I've done both. I'd have to go EastEnders.
Sun or ski?
Oh, sun, without doubt.
Whiskey or wine?
Wine.
UK or USA?
I'm kind of bilingual, but it's got to be UK.
Paul Whitehouse or Harry Enfield?
Easy. Paul Whitehouse. He lives around the corner from me.
I'm glad you said that. And a football one, Man United or Lincoln City?
Oh, well done. It's Man United, and they're playing today. And
Are you United?
Nervous. I'm a big United fan. I've been to Old Trafford many times, and I'm very, very nervous because today I'm spending my whole day kind of building up to the kickoff at 4 o'clock.
So am I,
and I am praying that we make the Champions League.
Mate, we're mates for life. Loughborough University, Man United, Batman. I mean, come on.
In fact, Sean, there's something you could fulfill for me, because Brian Hibbard. Did you ever meet Brian Hibbard?
No.
Do you know who I mean?
No.
Oh, okay. Brian Hibbard used to live in Cardiff, and Brian was the lead singer with the Flying Pickets.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah,
the one with the sideburns.
He was in Twin Town, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's right. He did the Welsh soap, and he also did Coronation Street.
Yes.
And Brian and I did a theatre show many years ago and became great friends. And then sadly he passed away a few years ago. And we had a pact that he was going to take me to Cardiff Arms Park to see Wales in a rugby match. And we never did it because he passed away. Maybe you or Kyle could fulfill that dream for me.
Mate, I'd be delighted to have you as my guest. Me, you and Kyle will go, right? How's that?
That would be awesome. That would be
Right.
awesome. And then I will toast Brian, who's up in his wife is still in Cardiff, and the children.
Right,
But-
we'll do 100%. Kyle, right? That's a deal on me. I'll sort it for a Welsh International at the Principality
Be brilliant.
Stadium. And what we'll do, mate, we'll in the ground, just for the anthem, we'll go ba-da-da-dum,
There you go.
ba-da-da-dum. For Brian, how's that?
For Brian, yeah, he was a very special man, and
Colin-
he was never into rugby really. He moved back to Cardiff. He became the biggest rugby fan in the world, and the proudest Welshman you'll ever meet. And sadly, I think one of the reasons he passed away was because he was up all night trying to learn Welsh for the soap, because he didn't speak Welsh and he had to do that soap in Welsh. And I literally remember him telling me he'd be up till 4 a.m. trying to master this language, which he did. He got through it, but it did take it out of him. God bless him. So
Brilliant.
It's been a pleasure talking to both of you. And Kyle, I'm so impressed that you can do this. I don't know how you do podcasts.
Let's just sit and talk to people, mate. You've just done it.
But then you have to edit it and figure out how to get it out there and join up with people and whatever you do.
He's doing
brilliant.
great, Carl. He's doing great.
Thank you.
And I will
Thank you.
I will tune in.